The second paragraph, where it says the township will issue the developer a donation tax receipt for the value of the land that is dedicated. That is in additional to the requirements under the Planning Act to the township. The fair market value of the land at the date of the transfer to be dedicated to the township will be determined by a qualified land appraiser chosen by the township, and the cost of the appraisal will be paid by the developer. I'm sorry, I don't know what that's telling me.
Ingrid, would you want to answer that?
What, I'm confused what you don't understand, sorry. So basically, the township will hire an appraiser to put to determine the value of the land that will be transferred to the township in order for a tax receipt to be issued. So it will be our appraiser, not the developer's appraiser.
No, I understand that. I'm just not sure about the land that we own.
The land that we are going to have transferred to us is the land where the trail is on the west side. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
But the reason we use our appraiser is because then we have confidence in the appraised value.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's at our cost as well. Is that what you're suggesting? Their cost? Okay.
Just one other quick change.
Go ahead.
On the fifth paragraph, it says something about a cash. The second line says a cash wall, and it should actually be corrected to a crash wall. Although it is a cash wall, let me tell you.
I did make that comment to Donna already, yeah.
And it is a cash wall.
It is a cash wall.
Yes. So I'll receive the report for information.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Councilor.
Just some clarity on the last paragraph, Ingrid. Why would we own
Do you have a question?
the crash wall, if they are to maintain it in perpetuity? I'm not sure why we would maintain ownership in that.
It is part of the original amending agreement. We're basically amending the agreement that the township, when we did sign the agreement initially with the owners of Fort Victoria, we're basically extending the same things that came out of the CIP to the new owners.
Is that a requirement of GO Transit, or is it something
That wall was put in as a requirement of GO Transit.
but that we own it rather than they own it?
That's how the original agreement
That
was,
was?
is that we would end up owning it, but they have to maintain it. And the original agreement is slightly modified in that it was going to be for a few years that First Leaside was going to get the wall into a position that the township and First Leaside agreed to, and the township would end up taking it over. But I think part of the reason is because there is a fairly large opportunity for a pretty sizable tax receipt. I think that was what was driving it when we were negotiating with First Leaside back in the day.
The reason I ask that is that wall is almost a magnet for people
It is,
tagging it.
but
so,
I think
mean,
together what we're hoping is between the township and the owners is that we'll be able to find something that will actually work on that wall, so it's not a graffiti wall, that it will become something else. And the owners want to see a nice wall there because their plan is to start construction on 4 Victoria first, as opposed to 168 Brock.
Right.
And just as a little bit of an update, once the agreement is signed and we're pretty much there, they hope to start construction in March of 2018. The reason they have to wait until the winter is over is because there's concrete work that needs to happen in order to support the 5-story building, and that's why they have to wait until the spring, so that whatever they do this fall, if they were to start this fall, it's hard on the concrete to go through the winter. So just as an update.
So even if we own the wall, all the maintenance as far as graffiti and all that would be handled by the developer, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councilor Barton?
Yeah, my only question on this is, or comment, is on the CIP funding. That CIP funding that we've got and the money in that account will go a long way to assisting our downtown. I'm just concerned when we would potentially empty that account for this project as kind of a tax swap, I don't know. That's my concern.
So when the township established the CIP for downtown and Toronto Street, the councils of the day felt that those accounts are necessary in order to stimulate redevelopment of areas. That's why both of those were created. And it was understood at the time that there would be, that council would contribute to the CIP account on an annual basis. Council has not been at this point. but with the rollout now of the downtown facade program and for Victoria coming on board, I think it now speaks to, again, that renewed commitment that council should probably discuss as part of the 2018 budget in order to start putting funds on an annual basis into that account to build it up again. There is a real interest, I believe, out there that people want to invest in their buildings, and this is a good opportunity, especially now that we've moved the facade program from being a grant or a loan program to a grant program. I think you're gonna see even more interest as time goes on.
Okay, so, yeah, you've answered my question. As long as that's being funded continually,
There'll be a request again in the 2018 budget, knowing that we're introducing the facade program in 2018. There'll be a request again to start adding money. And I believe when I submitted my report in regards to the facade improvement plan that we will roll out this fall, there was discussion that we would need to start putting funds back into it again.
okay, thank you.
And these funds were, committed already to this project. Councillor Bryan?
Just one point, when Ingrid was talking about the concrete, I know I bring this up every time. I wanna make sure there's an engineering study done on that building, 'cause that rebar and concrete looks awful.
Well, we've had one study done, but they're also aware that there will be another study.
Okay, perfect.
Prior to the issuance of a building permit,
Yeah,
the township will be requesting an engineered sign-off on the foundation.
beautiful. That's what I wanted. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Bryan? All those in favor? Carried. Is there any unfinished business? Is there anything on here under finance? Nope. No unfinished business? Any other business? There's one item here. This is, regarding the new animal shelter, request for corporate sponsorship. I'd suggest we already are a corporate sponsor, but anyway, Mayor O'Connor, go ahead. Okay. And that would come from corporate, I presume, Mayor O'Connor? Yeah, okay. Any questions on that motion? All's in favor? Carried. Accounts for, September 2017, are there any questions? Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I'm looking at, $2,200 for Stinson equipment
For
for
what,
message
sorry?
boards.
Where are you?
This is under, I believe it's Public Works. I cut it out. I'm pretty sure it's Public Works. But the message boards, I thought we bought 2 of these recently. Is this a rental or is this service?
Ben, would you like to come forward, please?
We had one break down and it was getting fixed, and at the same time we had Ashworth Road under construction, so we had to rent one.
Okay,
The repair hasn't cost us anything to date.
okay. I have one more that's
Go
under the
ahead.
same heading. On-site contracting, we've got 66,000 for concrete sidewalks. I thought we were at 33 or 40 for sidewalks this year. What's the 66?
I'll have to check.
Okay,
Councillor Hyatt? You're done, right?
yeah,
Dave?
thanks.
So you done?
I'm done.
There was a charge on here, oh, it's right here, on, replacing defective cameras. Do we know if there was any warranty on those original products? This is at the arena, I think. Is there any way staff could look into that and see? Because there's a charge for $2,300 here. I mean, if they're covered under warranty, I don't see why we'd be replacing them at
I
our
guess.
cost.
Perhaps Councillor Ballinger could follow up on that with the arena staff regarding the cameras?
Do you wanna check with
Sure.
Bob, Jack, and see? Thank you.
Any other questions on the accounts? Somebody like to move the accounts? Councillor Barton? All those in favor? Carried? Thank you. Sorry, I'll turn this over now to Tourism, Heritage, and Community Programs. Oh, sorry, questions from the press?
Yes, Councillor. On the Victoria Street report, it talks 2 or 3 places about land being transferred to the township. What land is being transferred to the township?
Well, I think maybe Ingrid answered, I think she said that the area we're using for the trails, and I think the property
there's
that
some
the
land-
crash walls on as well.
There's land on the west side of the tracks, and there's a trail that actually goes across those lands. and that is the land that the township is interested in having transferred, so that the trail ends up being in public ownership. It actually connects up to the South Balsam Trail, and eventually when the development is finished and they've assumed both sites, then we are asking that that piece be transferred to the township, so that the township basically then will assume the public responsibility that goes along with having a public trail.
Is that narrow strip between the parking lot and the tracks?
That's right, that strip. A portion of it.
Thank you, Ingrid. One other question, Councillor. I may not know what I'm talking about here, that's more than likely, but it looks like
Don't wait for a comment.
It looks like this development is going to cost the township at least $180,000, and probably more, because there's some figures noted. How come this development is costing the township and the township's taxpayers? I don't understand that.
Well, I guess I'll let Ingrid answer, but if you look long-term, I don't think that's the case. I mean, long-term, there's a tremendous amount of tax advantage to the township. In the short term, we do want to entice people to move and develop here, but long-term, it's a very positive thing for the township. They'll be paying taxes forever on that building.
Can perhaps I sit down with you again later?
You're welcome to, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Questions from the press? Anybody from the public? No? Great. Now I will pass it over to Tourism, Heritage, and Community Programs.
Thank you so much. I'd like to open Tourism, Heritage, Community Program Committee. Is there any unfinished business? Councillor Barton?
Just a quick comment. I wanted you to have the opportunity to mention the Farm to Train, because it was your event. But, yeah, I was there. It was an incredible event. And the draw that railway and those types of events bring into the community is fantastic. So thanks for your hard work on that. I know it was a pretty huge undertaking. So thanks, ma'am.
Very welcome. Thank you. Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, I know we've had discussions, but maybe this bears public airing. The GPS walking tour of the downtown. Can you just tell us where that's at and how we can participate in it?
It's for the Historical Society. It's up, it's running, it's on Discover Uxbridge. It is truly amazing. The walking tour, I believe it can take about 2 hours. And I think it's going to add to the different experience packages that Uxbridge can offer. And actually, the EVEC committee is also talking about doing something similar, but for the art that we have in the town, to have another walking tour, which can add to doing a package. You know, when people come, there's a number of things that they can do, self-guided tours and so on. So I do encourage the public and council to go on Discover Uxbridge and look at that tour, as well as through the Heritage website.
And there is an app,
Yes.
I believe, that
Yes.
can be downloaded?
Yes,
onto
the app
your
can
phone?
be, yes, thank you. The app can be downloaded onto your phone, and you can follow it all through. Excuse me. And is there any other business? I'd like to close Tourism, Heritage, and Community Program Committee. Is there any questions from the press? Audience? No? I pass it along to Parks, Facilities, and Arena.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Under Parks and Recreation, is there any unfinished business? Worship?
It's not maybe unfinished business, it's ongoing business, and walking through the park the other day is, I mean, it's an amazing experience for people that haven't been through there, but it's just as amazing for people that walk through it constantly, that we have this gem in the middle of our community. Some of the trees are really getting old, and I'm just concerned that we need to be very vigilant in planting new ones. I can't imagine one day of being able to walk through there, and the trees are very sparse. So I would just ask that through your committee, you keep in touch with Bob, and I know that he has the trees evaluated every year and marked. But I think there's going to be a point where there's several of the larger ones that are going to have to come down all in sort of one time period. And is there anything that we can do that will help sort of that transitional period?
Well taken, and I will sit down with Bob and go over it. It's you're right, we don't want a park with no trees.
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but as I said, there's several very, very old trees there right now that their days are certainly numbered.
Yeah, I know we talked about this last week, concerning, garbage being left, adjacent to the new dog park facility. I mean, I've been noticing this across the town in parks with people leaving, kitchen bags, and whether it's dog waste or whatever that's in it. Haven't been going through the bags to see what's there. But nevertheless, these things are being left randomly. If there's something that we could remind people to clean up their act after, not only their dog, but if it is garbage over and above dog waste, I think this needs to be dealt with. I know Parks is on it, but they can't be everywhere all the time, and really that's not really their job, is to go around picking up people's garbage. These things are being left at entrances to parks, trails, even along our main streets, just bags being dumped next to light posts. And I think either people need to be reminded that we're not there to pick up after them, and that staff are only limited. With park staff especially being seasonal, they don't have the people after the summer months to go around and pick up this mess. So I think we need something in our town page, on the website, just as a common courtesy for people to clean up after themselves, I think would be nice. If the press wants to add that to their weekly to-do list, would be great too. But I'm seeing more and more of it. I'm not sure, maybe because I'm in an urban ward, but
Are you thinking more signage would help, Councillor Hyatt?
I think signage may help up at the dog park, because maybe you can speak to that when it's open. But I think people need to understand, A, that it's not open, and B, that it's their responsibility to clean up after themselves. So.
Thank you.
But whether it's household waste, just as an example, a recent letter went out to people adjacent to the fire halls, and I'm not picking on that specifically, but everybody was basically blamed for one culprit who was dumping stuff back there. So, and in my area, I've had people dumping washing machines. You would not believe the stuff that gets thrown into the green space. I mean, Durham Region will come and pick that up for free. All you have to do is make a phone call. But I think people that are diligent and try and maintain their properties and then have these people who really don't care, to me that's an issue. And again, it shouldn't have to fall to our park staff to have to go around and clean up after these people. So.
Okay. Question. Councillor Burton.
Thanks. Just sort of on that same note, there was some issues last year, I'm just making sure we corrected them, where as the transition from fall to winter, whether or not we have enough staff to pick up the garbage before we get snow with the change that we're seeing in our climate, do we have enough staff in parks to clean up all the garbage cans with the increased hiking that takes place before?
But we don't have as much staff, so I'll look at Ingrid.
Yeah, there's been some staff changes that have been made. We're not hiring any additional staff, but to Councillor Hyatt's point, it's no different than the issues that we're dealing with downtown. We have garbage pickup on Tuesday and Friday, but there's some people that we think we might have garbage pickup 5 days a week. So this is the challenge that I think we're running into. We've got bins in our parks, and what we're finding is people are dumping large bags of garbage beside it, not in it, doesn't fit in it. And so we may go through and pick up the garbage and then hear a call that 2 or 3 days later that there's garbage all around the containers. So that is the challenge. It's almost, I don't know what the answer is in regards to once a week or twice a week pickup when people feel that it's fine to dump the garbage every day of the week.
Any other questions? Oh. So there is a newsletter that you have. Would someone give me a motion to receive it, please? Councillor Bryan, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. To the paper, have you any questions? Is that yes or no, Roger? Thank you very much. Okay, I'll conclude this and pass it on to Sustainability, Watershed and Conservation, to Councillor Barton, please.
Thanks, Councillor Ballinger. I'll call this meeting of Sustainability, Watershed and Conservation to order. I'll start with correspondence number 139. This is from the TRCA, the Greater Golden Horseshoe Natural Heritage and Agricultural Systems Report. What would we like to do with this one? Yes. Okay, motion to receive. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. So, any unfinished business? Any other business? Any questions from the press? All right, I'll close this meeting of Sustainability, Watershed and Conservation and pass this over to Public Works. Councillor Bryan.
Thank you, Councillor. I call to order this meeting of Public Works and Operations. First piece of correspondence, 140, Region of Durham, update on Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act and timing of the Blue Box program transition. Mayor O'Connor.
I'm going to receive this for information because the Region of Durham will be making a deputation to this council.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. All in favor? Carried. Next item, number 141, Bev Northeast, Chair Goodwood Ratepayers Association, concerns regarding the issue of road traffic, speed, and resulting environmental impact of noise and dust pollution and speed in the area of Highway 47 and Durham 21 in Goodwood. Mayor O'Connor.
Ms. Northeast makes some good points here, but there's also some points that are not factual whatsoever. And I would like to suggest that the region is looking at noise and pollution on all roads that there are trucks, heavy truck traffic. We have it signed for engine brakes. I don't know what we can do other than have a police officer sit there day in and day out, which isn't going to happen, as we all know. The other thing that I would like to say that, and I'll read the paragraph where it states, the Durham region, with two representatives from this township, Regional Councillor Jack Ballinger and Mayor O'Connor, who sit at the region, designated Durham 21 as a major truck bypass, even going so far as to send out letters, notifications to gravel companies and trucking firms and posting signage on Highway 47, all without a plan in place to address the speed of trucks through this area. I just want to say that when this road was designated, neither Councillor Ballinger or I were sitting on council. Councillor Northeast was the councillor, the mayor was Mayor Shepherd, and the regional councillor was Howie Harima. So I am not going to take any responsibility. I was not here, and neither was Regional Councillor Jack Ballinger, and in fact the letter writer sat here on council when this was done. It says that the regional transportation study is increasing Highway 47 to 4 or 5 lanes wide to address truck traffic off the 404. That regional study said by the year 2030 or later. We have no idea what the truck traffic, whether there will be any truck traffic at that point, because are the pits in fact going to be depleted by that period of time. And that was very clear in the presentation that was made in Port Perry. There's concerns as to why the meeting was in Port Perry, because the first meeting was held in Uxbridge, the second meeting was held in Brock, and the third meeting was held in Uxbridge Township. They rotate. This is something that has been going on forever. So it wasn't taken out of Uxbridge, for any other reason than it was Skugog's time for a public meeting. We keep hearing about, bypasses and that sort of thing, and I can't say enough. I do feel sorry for people that are living on, highways where there's large amounts of truck traffic. However, looking at a bypass, first of all, you're looking at millions of dollars. Am I correct, Councillor? Or, sorry.
You just got demoted.
You just got demoted.
Demoted, yeah.
We're looking at absolutely millions of dollars, and we put a bypass in, it's going by other people's doors. Highway 47, long before it became a regional road, was a provincial highway, and I don't believe for 1 minute that the region is going to close Highway 47 to trucks, because they have the same issue with Highway 2, they have the same issue with Highway 57. Any area such as Clarington that have huge amounts of aggregate within their boundary, have truck traffic going through their downtown core. In the case of Clarington, it's through Bowmanville. That's all I'll say about this. However, I would like a letter written back to the president of the Ratepayers Association, inviting her to a meeting in the future where we're going to have another gentleman that wanted the traffic or the truck traffic removed from Highway 47 in the downtown core, because I would like to hear their, and I think council agreed, like to hear the input. I'm all ears to what they can suggest to us that maybe we haven't thought about. As I said, I certainly agree with the amount of pollution and that sort of thing that these trucks are causing, and I believe that the Ministry of Health is looking at the emissions of vehicles. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Next up is Councillor Beach.
Yes, I had noticed that there was a few inaccuracies myself in reading this. I mean, I would personally like more truck inspections, because there are trucks that should be monitored more closely, taken off the road, updated, etc. And I mean, that should happen in not only just Goodwood, but there's other places in the municipality that could happen. But since there's two intersecting regional roads there, it's a real good place to get them stopped there at the Goodwood Hall. Mentioned about Stone's Throw, and there's a secondary study for the hamlet limits. I've never heard of that. I didn't think that that existed, but I have been constantly asking Councillor Ballinger to help work on getting the speed limit out to Stone's Throw to get traffic slowed down a little bit sooner. That one speed sign there on Regional Road 21, according to the residents, has helped immensely. The engine brake one, I think we got one truck that shows up about 4:30 every morning, and he just pounds on those brakes. But that has even improved. And the comment about the gravel companies should pay, which gravel companies? It seems to be pointing at Lafarge, and there's many gravel trucks from all over the place that goes through that area. So you can't really make that happen. You shouldn't penalize just one gravel company when there's so many different trucks going through. Thank you.
Sorry, I was wrong. We should have a motion. We do have a motion in front of us right now. The motion is to receive for information, and a letter will be written to Miss Northeast in regard to this. So all in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Now we can open up discussion. So first, Councillor Barton, then Councillor Ballinger, and then over to Councillor Malloy.
Okay, reading through this letter, I assumed it was factual. And, the further I got into it, the part that stopped me was the latest study by the World Health Organization shows diesel fuel as being the #1 carcinogen for lung cancer. So I looked it up. It was a stat that I could look at. So *1 cause of lung cancer, smoking. #2 is secondhand smoke. #3 is asbestos. #4 is radon gas. #5 is radon is family history. #6 is prior history of lung cancer, and #7 is air pollution. I'm not saying that there's no fumes. I would hope that when someone sends a letter, especially someone with, over 2 decades of experience on council, there'd be some facts with it. And this one, it took me 30 seconds on Google to figure out what the truth was. So 1% of lung cancer is caused by air pollution, and that's globally. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Barton. Over to Councillor Ballinger.
Councillor Bryan, and I concur with the mayor. It's funny, when I read through it, I don't tend to get too excited. I looked at it and said, well, I was Ward 4 councillor at the time, and Mayor Shepherd was in the mayor's chair, and Councillor Northeast sat here at the time. So I look at that, and I agree with Councillor Beach that, we have to try, and I will try at the region to have more police out there to do inspections. I totally agree with that. Because when they do the inspections, half those trucks fail. At least half of them. So, and the other thing is, we've been working on trying to extend that speed limit, and whether it's going to happen, they do the traffic studies, they watch the roads, and if they think that it's something that needs to be done, they would do it. And I'll give you an example, a good example. I can't believe, as I go out Reach Street and I get to Uxbridge Golf Course, Scramble's Restaurant, before you get there, it starts the 80 zone. Like, you just come in there, and it should be a 50 zone right to the lights. And I've explained this to the region, and they're looking into it. But it doesn't make any sense. If you're coming from the east, you hit the lights there at Durham 23, you can go 80 right till you get to the top of the hill where the old restaurant used to be, and yet you've got all kinds of traffic in there, and you got people turning in. So, yeah. And another thing, when you talk about the traffic, I got the report on Sunderland. You wouldn't believe how many trucks go through Sunderland on a day. Anybody that knows Sunderland knows it's very narrow there. They park on both sides of the road. But the traffic count going through the heart of Sunderland, and now they've got a big new subdivision going in, I wonder what that's going to lead to. So, traffic's a problem everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ballinger. Over to Councillor Malloy.
Thank you, Councillor Bryan. I guess a little bit in addition to what Jack has said, I mean, regardless of whether the facts are accurate or not, the reality is that we have way too many trucks in our township. And that being our downtown, all our hamlets, they're all suffering the same thing. So it's not something we can put our head in the sand in, that's for sure. We have to try to find a way to deal with it. And I really think at some point in time, and we've talked about this for a number of years, we really have to sit with some of the aggregate industry and just sit and have a chat and see if there is a way to resolve some of these things. And I know there's been some discussions with some of the groups, but we can't put our head in the sand, and not that we have been. We're trying to find an answer. And so the response to this letter is, essentially thank you, but and we're still working on it, and we'd love to find an answer to it. I was talking with Councillor Beach this morning. There's other areas you can see the potential where trucks are going to continue to go. Sanford's a classic example in the future, a regional road that will be a truck route for sure at some point in time. So yeah, I guess we just got to keep digging and keep finding a way. I know it's not easy. I know there's no easy answers, that's for sure, but we have to keep digging and find a way to resolve it. Our downtown is ridiculous with the trucks, so we have to work on it. I don't know what the answer is, so.
Thank you, Councillor Malloy. Councillor Hyatt, and then over to Mayor O'Connor.
We keep talking about this. What enforcement is available? If we're going to depend on DRPS to reroute trucks, I don't think that's the solution. I mean, even if the region had a designated one route only for trucks, A, how do they make sure people follow that route, and B, what do they do if they don't? I mean, right now, I see trucks going around the roundabout. They're coming in from Durham 30, going across 8, right through the middle of the downtown. Not only are they coming up Toronto Street and doing a right, they're coming right across. So it's a free-for-all out there, and we can say, well, this is a designated truck route and this is not, but who's out there going to be enforcing this? You know, and that's my worry. It's great to talk about this, but it's where the rubber meets the road here. Who's actually going to do the enforcement? And I think that, to me, needs to take precedence over, you know, where you can go is who's going to deal with it if they don't. And I think that's a part of this whole discussion that we've missed. So the region can, you know, create as many areas or bypasses if they like. If people, A, aren't taking them, or B, are deciding to go elsewhere, how do we enforce that? What, is it going to fall to our bylaw department? Is it going to be DRPS's responsibility? I mean, who's going to be taking this on? And I think that's something that could come out of this discussion, I think, that Mayor O'Connor has referred to. So that has to be part of the discussion and not just, you know, you go here, and if you don't, you know, we need to be able to deal with it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. You, Mayor O'Connor?
I think one thing that what we have to remember is that if we make no truck routes, what you're doing is that you're putting that onto another road. I mean, we can't win this, in my humble opinion. We can try to alleviate it a bit, but there was a time, and I wish I could remember the timelines, but there was a truck going through our downtown core every 46 seconds. We're getting truck traffic now, but I'll tell you, it's been a lot worse in the past than it is right now. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking at it. I totally understand where the residents and where the retail owners on on Brock Street, okay, and Toronto Street are coming from. But doesn't, and I say this with all sincerity, the trucks that are coming through downtown, or the trucks that are coming down Regional Road 23, are all, the vast majority, I shouldn't say all, the vast majority are going to go through Goodwood. Okay? So it won't matter if we, even if we could get the trucks off Highway 47, those trucks are still going to go, as I said, the vast majority are going to go to Goodwood, through Goodwood, because they're going to the market, which is that way. You see some trucks on Brock Road, but I've been on Brock Road a couple times in the last week. There isn't nearly the trucks because they're going to go to the 404, or they're going to go, the truck traffic on Sanford Side Road is really increased because they can get over to, what is it, Woodbine? No, 48, okay, in a straight line. So we need to have this conversation with the region, but I don't know, I think the region's at a loss the same as we are. This, unfortunately, gravel is an economic driver of our economy. And sitting on council, the day that there was no trucks going in our downtown, I'll tell you, it was 1980 when there was a huge recession. And we don't want to go through that again. None of us. So, I don't know. I don't have any answers. I don't profess to have any answers. All I can say is that it is a huge problem. It's a huge problem where the municipality has its own supply of aggregate. But it's even more of an issue for us because we're in the direct line of the market. And until the pits are completed in Ramera, in Simcoe, exactly, it's going to continue.
Ingrid?
Yeah, just one comment as well from driving to work. We're also seeing now a lot of trucks coming along Ravenshoe, and they're trying, with pups and without pups, trying to navigate Ravenshoe onto Regional Road 1 in downtown Eudora, which is really tricky, and in a lot of cases you see them trying to go straight. But if you go straight through Eudora up to 23, then that's another bit of a blind hill to come out onto as well, so they're going any which way, and now that the 404 goes to Ravenshoe, it just makes perfect sense until I'm sure you hit your door and you think, where am I?
And last word goes to Councillor Barton.
So, I was looking at options for the downtown and how the traffic affects different people. So, I just did a count on Google Maps. And if you go Lakeridge to 21 to 47, you pass 82 driveways and 2 retail businesses. If you go Lakeridge, Brock, Toronto 47, there's 225 driveways, minimum. My eyes got buggy at the end. Over 150 retail businesses, 2 crosswalks feeding 3 schools, 3 seniors buildings, and 2 condos. So the only point with that is, sitting here, we have to make tough decisions. And sometimes the decisions that we make will affect some people in a negative way if it's for the greater good. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Google. Over to you, Mayor O'Connor.
I think that, we can certainly sit down with the region. I know they did send out letters a few years ago to those, operations, to the, north of us, requesting that they use 23, to 21 if they had to go that way. So I think that, any discussions that we have, we should certainly have the, regional traffic people here with us. But you'll notice by the next letter, there's a person that lives on 23 on Skugog side saying, please don't push any more traffic on my side. So here we are. Anyway, I think I made the motion that we receive it. And maybe what I need to do is I'll amend my motion to just receive for information. And when we have a time slot to discuss this truck traffic, we'll advertise it so people can come in and make deputations rather than letting people know individually. Okay?
Sorry, so I guess we'll have to make another motion then?
No, I'll withdraw my first one.
Okay.
Oh, all right, so then I need a motion to reconsider.
Okay.
I voted for it.
You have to vote for it.
No, I voted before. So if we're doing a vote for reconsideration, it would be unanimous. What do we do?
You're in favor of it.
That's fine.
You're in favor.
You have to be voting in favor of it to go. Okay,
I'll make that motion.
all in favor of that motion? Carried.
So I'll make another
motion.
motion that we receive it for information.
All in favor of that motion? Carried. Next item of business, item 141A, Jeff Carpenter, retruck traffic in and near Uxbridge. Councillor Malloy.
Just a motion to receive, please. I think we talked about it enough.
All right, all in favor? Carried. Next item, report to committee, report PWO 68. Sorry, I missed something, did I? Let me... Oh, in the addendum. This is why you sit beside me. Correspondence, item number 150, Phil Smith, Ontario Municipal Commuter Cycling Infrastructure Program. Councillor Malloy, first up.
I would just make a motion to receive it.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Mayor O'Connor.
Just on that item of correspondence, I did ask that staff confirm that we could opt into the program in 2018. Have you heard anything back? Okay, so it's with the MPP's office, because we did make the motion that we would enter it in 2018, as it would be part of the budget process.
Right.
So, I just want to make sure that that option is there.
I've done a bit of research on this one.
Councillor Barton.
So, from what I understand, the $42.5 million for the first year, that's gone. So, we will have no access to that money, but we will have access to cap and trade if we opt in. So, I understand that we can opt in, but we'll get confirmation from Tracy McCharles' office.
Okay. I can't believe there's $42 million already taken up. But
Yeah, let's see that. I like to see the check stubs.
It's like they make an announcement 4 times over.
Just,
Councillor Ballinger?
yes, just so you know, the region, went in, at the Trails, meeting where, David made a presentation on Uxbridge. The region put in for 13 different, places. And, the routes themselves, I mean, in that whole parcel there, like, they could be routes that you ride your bicycle, we'll say in your study, your plan, just to get milk, just to go to high school. So the region put in for 13 of them.
All right, next item up, report PWO 6817 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works and Operations, rural cross-section for extensions to roads within an unopened right-of-way. What would we like to do with this?
Support the recommendation.
Support the recommendation, all in favor? Yeah. Carried. Next item, report PWO 6917 of Karen Rill, Facility Booking Clerk, rewater testing rural township community centers. Councillor Malloy?
I'd like to move the recommendation.
All right, all in favor? Questions, comments? Carried. Next item, report to committee, report PWO 3617 of Karen Rill, Facility Booking Clerk, re-sign at Highway 47. This was tabled during the regular meeting of committee of June 5th, 2017. Motion to lift? It's on the addendum, yeah. Goes A, B, and then C. That's on the addendum.
Okay, I'm gonna well, there's a motion to lift, so.
Is there a motion to lift?
Who's making a motion
Yes.
to lift?
I haven't, no one's made it yet.
I'll make the motion to
Okay,
lift.
motion to lift, all in favor? Carried.
Then I'll make a motion to refer this to Administration Committee, 148, CO017, and report DB 2017-02 of Councillor Barton. So I'm referring it to the discussion with the other two. I think I did that. Correspondence from 148, correspondence 148, report CO01, and report DB 217-02.
So that's our motion, bring it forward. Right. All in favor? Don't we have to do the motion first?
Well, the motion's on the floor, now we can ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, sorry. My
Okay,
mistake.
sorry. I just want to make a comment, that this is a report that we've been working on with staff and, with other municipalities and with community groups in our township since June. We've been working at this. I welcome some of the, comments and some of these other reports, and, we will certainly have a look at them and, bring them forward as soon as possible. It is important, though, that we do get, essentially, something together that has a policy so we can make decisions on what does go on the sign, and we need to do that quickly. So, we'll be happy to look at some of this information, and we'll bring it back as soon as possible.
Okay, so I'm going to refer, pardon me? Yes, so he's made a statement, but I'll deal with your statement, because I've referred it to admin. Okay, so then you can deal with it in admin, all right?
Okay, so we all have to vote on the motion, all in favor? Carried. Is there any unfinished business? Mayor O'Connor and then Councillor Beach.
Okay, unfinished business, and again, it's probably new business versus unfinished, is that I've had a number of seniors and people request that we look at the speed on Elgin Park Drive. And where they're very concerned about it is people are coming out of Showbrook, trying to cross the road to get to the doctor's office or the dentist's office or to the optometrist or to the drugstore. And they're using their entrance to Showbrook to do that versus walking up to the corner and crossing the road and then walking back down. So I did speak to Ben about this once, and he just advised me that what I was suggesting is quite noisy. Well, since the time I spoke to him about putting in a speed, and I don't want to call them speed bumps, but you know, when you're driving along the road and you go a little bit too far? Rumple, is that what they're called? Rumble. Oh, okay, rumble. I would like to see a rumble strips put as you're coming down that hill, towards the entrance to, Showbrook. So that in fact, I don't want those strips that are up at the, by the fields of Uxbridge. I don't want those strips. You know what? There's roads a lot bumpier than those strips. Well,
Rumble strips are on 47, on the bend.
that's what I mean. That's what I want there. And I just want maybe one or two. And the reason I'm asking for it to be considered now is I don't know how noisy they are.
They're really nice.
Well, you know, the strips that we got at St. John's, as I said, you know, I don't find them that, they're not, they don't bring your attention.
They used to have strips on that road. Didn't it? My understanding was, from driving it, that there used to be strips on that curve on
No.
Elgin Park Drive.
Yeah,
And-
we just put them back.
Um,
They're there now.
they're back again.
There's
But
no strips. Oh. Yeah, exactly. But why can we not put one across the road so it brings people's attention to the fact that you've got seniors in motorized, carts, you've got seniors with walkers, crossing that road.
we can, but they really should be using the traffic light.
I understand that, but you know what? They go the easiest way there. And I just asked you to look at it. I'm concerned. There's a lot of residents living in there that are using that, walking out.
We did recently put up a sign, seniors crossing.
Right. I did see that.
Little to the, east.
But you're coming down that hill and you're doing 60. Even if you're started off at the top of the hill at 40. But anyway, I'll leave it up to you. I just bring it up again that I have in more than one occasion rounded that hill and had somebody in the middle of the road.
So do you have a motion for that, Mayor O'Connor?
No, you know, it doesn't seem like it's a concern, so. Yeah.
It's a concern. I'm just very concerned about the rumble strips. I have heard them in some of these areas where at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, if there's traffic, they are loud. They are really loud. I suspect we'll get more complaints about how loud those strips are. They're very loud, and that was one of the recommendations actually from Sue Kelly a couple of years ago when we talked about putting some of these rumble strips in, was that anywhere they had done them, they got nothing but complaints about them because they were so loud, and they don't stop. But I agree, there has to be something there. It's a terrible spot. But I don't have a problem with the ones off the fields of Uxbridge. You don't like them, but I think they work, but it's my opinion.
I don't know. As I said, you know, maybe we need to think about it, Ben.
Councillor Beach?
Thank you. Ben, where, can you tell me right now where the township movable speed sign is? I don't mean the one on the wheels, I mean the one that we can put up on a post or whatever. Is it being used?
It's not, we haven't used it yet, no.
And what about the one where you had told me about the disc that you can implant in the road, that you were gonna do that on Davis Drive? This is all a couple of years ago.
They were, they're there.
They're there?
in, but they don't believe they do speed, they just do traffic counts.
And they've been used?
Yeah.
And so this movable speed sign, I mean, we've had it for 2 years and we haven't used it?
The issue is, I guess, I don't mind a couple issues. When I put it up, council has to realize that it's going to be taken down.
Yeah.
Unless you give me a specific location to put it up and leave it. The other issue is it's moving it every 2 weeks or every month. So I'll bring a report forward on that.
Because, I mean, I'm sure there's places within the municipality on our roads that it could be rotated on even a monthly basis, because there was the, report from Australia that, Councillor Barton had shared, that it does reduce the speed, and if it's there for a month, it doesn't become, 365 days that it's there and people get used to it. It's changing it around and moving it around to have value on some of our township roads that we get a lot of complaints on, and possibly even on some of our streets. So,
I'll bring a
we've
report. I'll bring a report forward.
okay, because, I mean, we've got it, we should be using it.
Perhaps, before I go to Councillor Barton, perhaps we should have someone make a motion that we do send this to staff to investigate, so we can actually get something done. I can't make that motion, obviously.
I can make one with
Okay.
my comment if you want.
All right. So it's over to Councillor Barton, and then it's over to Councillor Malloy.
Okay, so with all this discussion, we've got some hot areas where speed and safety is an issue that are on our own roads. We've got some products that we already own that we're not fully utilizing. I suggest that with Ben's report, he includes traffic calming measures and sort of options that we can all look at, and maybe the costs associated with that. So different options that should slow the speed and make things safer for our residents. And certainly the location by Showbrook would be very high on that list.
So that's your motion?
Yep.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Malloy, and then back to Mayor O'Connor.
Just as a comment for Ben, and I think one of the biggest areas we have is the speeding going in and out of hamlets, because they're generally going from 80s into 50s or 40s or slower. So that to me should be one of the prime goals, is to try to find a way. And if it means that we should buy one of these traffic calming devices like the speed sign, over the next couple of years for each of the hamlets, we should. I mean, it's something we should put permanently. If moving them around is an issue, let's put them there permanently. We haven't got that many hamlets, but let's put them up. That's just a recommendation. Perhaps you could bring that to budget this year, Ben. Would be appreciated.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yeah, you know what, I'm stunned to hear that we've had one. Oh, I knew that we bought one, but I thought it was being used. So I'm really disappointed in that. And I think for sure what you've just said, Councillor Malloy, we need to look at purchasing more of these. And, having something sitting there for 2 years where it could have alleviated some of the problems that we have in hamlets, particularly in Goodwood, is very, very unfortunate.
Goodwood actually has one.
Pardon me?
On 21. The region put them in.
On 21.
Yep.
Councillor Beach?
Yeah, the one on 21, Mayor, that was the one I was speaking of in Goodwood.
Yeah.
So it's on a regional road. And I think I brought this up before as far as in the hamlets, finding out from the region whether we could put it on a regional road, take it down. I'm pretty sure I brought that up a few months ago, to whether we could actually do that to help with the hamlets.
All our hamlets are regional roads, every one of them. So, okay, let's move along.
All right, other business. Ontario Good Roads Association, OGRA, commends Government of Ontario's commitment to improved road safety. Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, I'm gonna receive this. Just on the last bullet point, Ben, it says expanding the use of rear flashing blue lights. Does that mean we're being mandated to add more lighting to our snow vehicles, et cetera? Do you know yet, or is it still early?
There's really two standards right now. The MTO have their own standard for their own contractors, and it's much more extensive than the standard that we have to meet.
So they're not saying that we need to add more flashing lights to our stuff?
The snowplows have never been considered emergency vehicles. Emergency vehicles, to me, would be police, fire, and ambulance. Enforcement would be MTO.
Okay,
inspections.
so there's no implications for us then in budget?
Don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Over to you, Councillor Barton.
I just read something about this last week. I believe it's Skugog are adding blue lights in the back of their fire trucks. In foggy and snowy conditions, the red flashing lights hide. So the blue lights have been proven to be much more effective.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions from the press? Oh, I'm sorry, motion to receive, all in favor? Carried. I'm sorry, thank you, Councillor. Any questions from the press? No? Questions from the audience? All right, I close economic development with Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, and I'll call to order Planning and Economic Development. 142 is a letter from Randy Hoban. I would suggest that we refer to this for staff. Do you have a question, Mayor O'Connor?
Yeah, I actually think that we need to support this request. These two houses have been there for eons, and the one is just the eaves trough is going over, and I forget what the other one was, but you know what? This has been going on for a long, long time, and two people that have owned this house now have passed away. And if you wish to refer it to staff, but I'd like to see it settled.
Leave it to staff to settle this.
So staff will settle it?
Settle.
Okay.
Any other-
I'll support that then.
Okay, any other questions? No. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 143, 144, 145, 146, and 151 all pertain to the sale vote. I get a motion to refer this to planner and applicant. Councillor Malloy, any questions? Mayor O'Connor?
No,
No?
no.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, report CAO 917 of Ingrid's Wellness. This is the DC for secondary units. Questions, Councillor Malloy?
I guess, I spoke very briefly to Don about this. I guess, if you look at it, that, you should get rid of the DCs. I really don't know how that's gonna impact us here. I think the way I look at it is that, if you do an addition to your house, add something onto your house, MPAC is going to obviously assess your house at a higher value. I understand the province and the region, everybody's jumping on board with this because it's a good thing to talk about affordable housing. I really don't think it's gonna impact us whatsoever. I don't see the benefit to us by doing this. We're talking about homes in this town that are already past affordability, and by the time you start adding on to those homes with additions, I mean, they're well past affordability. So although the province, they're into all this, I don't see it helping us at all. And I don't know where they're going with it. As I said, the property values will increase. I mean, it's a great thought, but I don't see it helping us at all.
Ingrid, you wanna speak to that?
I think we've been wrestling with this development charge. If you're putting a secondary unit in an existing house, it doesn't become an issue, but we've been talking about putting them in accessory buildings. And we looked at our development charge schedule, and we really don't have anything that even picks it up. It doesn't contemplate that it would happen. And we've looked at ranges between $6,000 and $10,000 for the development charges. We know that the region is not going to be charging. The other thing is we know that the province has been looking at affordable housing, and part of what their discussions are, which are out for comment, I think they've closed the commenting period, is that there's this suggests they're looking at not charging development charges for these units in secondary buildings. I think we all know that it's difficult to find affordable housing, and I do agree, Councillor Malloy, that the assessed value of your property will probably go up as a result of this, but I think we're going to probably find that we're going to be put into a position that this will be more of a provincial statement, which I think is what the region's position is as well, and that's why we're suggesting at this point that we don't charge development charges for those. Let's see what comes forward, and let's see what action the province takes. I'm worried about people falling into the crack of having to pay now, and then, you know, in 6 months from now, the decision is made that not to charge development charges.
It's just that, once again, the province is they're not losing any money on this.
Not making any money on it, but I think it's their statement on it, and they've always said, the province has always maintained that affordable housing is gonna take more than the province, more than the township, more than the region. Like, it's gonna be a collective approach that's going to hopefully create affordable housing.
I think the intent too is to get people on board with it, that they buy into it without making the costs astronomical, so. Jack, did you have a question?
Mr. Chair, that I sit on affordable housing at the region on the task force, and a report will be coming forward to council, to committee of the whole. It was unanimous that we don't have DCs. We wanted to encourage people to put secondary units in. They're cheaper, and a lot of times they look at kids that go off to school and come back home, and there's room for them, room for the parents. In some cases, the parents have sold the house to their kids, and they put it. So, I fully support the report that's in front of us.
Okay, Councillor Moy?
I guess my point is this, is that, I agree 100%, Councillor Ballinger. The reality is, province talks about how it's such a focus, but they're doing nothing towards this. They've dumped it back onto us in the region. That's my comment.
Yeah, I think we need to have people coming through the front door and applying for these sorts of things. So again, to make it less onerous for them to do so is to their advantage. Mayor O'Connor?
We also can't forget that council made a decision, that, they have to go through a rezoning, so that's costly as well.
Okay, we have a motion here anywhere so far? You want to make a motion, Mayor O'Connor? Move the recommendation. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Report DS 5617 from Liz Howson. This is regarding a land division application on 76 Mill Street. Questions? Councillor Barton.
Yes, so on this one, the way I'm reading the drawing, it looks like all the driveways are on Joseph, which means that there'll be a long, thin wall along Mill Street. That, when you've got a fairly nice street facade along there, that's my concern. Whenever you've got a long, thin wall that looks like the side of a brand new kind of house, I don't think it'll be aesthetically pleasing for the people living in that area. What I'm wondering about is the two houses on Joseph and then one fronting on Mill, which I think might look significantly better.
Well, I think Liz is asking for additional information here, so that might deal with the sorts of things that you're looking at. So, Mayor O'Connor? You making that motion, Mayor O'Connor? Yep. Any other questions? All in favor? You have a question?
No, I just...
Oh, sorry. Okay. All in favor? Yeah. Carried. Thank you. Report DS 5817, Liz Howson. This is regarding an LD application on 51st Avenue. Questions? Questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Malloy.
Obviously, this is a contentious issue. So where are we at with the, if it's been designated heritage, does all of this obviously doesn't affect the heritage designation, is that correct? But we put it on the,
Debbie,
not designated, but we do have it on the list, right?
It's on the heritage
So that has
registry.
no impact on any of this.
Could you use her microphone, Mayor O'Connor?
It's on the Heritage Registry, along with several others.
Right.
There is a recommendation, that we dealt with from the Heritage Committee, asking council to designate it. We haven't done that
Right.
at this point. I think that what is being done here is, we ask that, there not be two lots severed, that there only be one lot severed. That the lot that will come out onto Dominion Street, because there's already been severances on the front lot. And so I looked at this as a fair compromise, because it's the house that's being designated, not necessarily the property. And it still gives enough property that the conservatory can be maintained.
I guess that was my question, was the conservatory gonna remain, and it does?
It does
Okay.
remain because it has no effect on the back lot.
Any other questions?
Yeah, my concern, I read through it, it wasn't really clear that there was only one lot coming off, so thanks for the clarification.
Originally, the proposal was for 2 lots, and then they've amended it to just have the one off of, Dominion Street.
Dominion.
Jack, do you have a question?
Yeah, I agree with the planner here on the one lot to the, behind the main house. But there is something that when we had the deputation in front of us and, owners right here now, was that if it's gonna be designated, before it's designated, would someone sit down and talk to the owners? And I hope that's gonna be done.
Just so that you know, staff and I have met with Mr. Bishop, who's in the audience today, and his wife, and we talked about the various scenarios involved with this sort of thing. And I'm just gonna express what I said then. I mean, I'm sure he knows quite well how busy Dominion Road or Dominion Street is there, so it's, I guess at the site plan stage, we'll have more to add to that. It's just because it's on a hill, and how would the driveway be orientated? I think it's still early in the discussion on that one. But we have met with them. They are aware of, and Debbie was at that meeting too, wherever she went. So she may want to add a comment when she gets back, but we're moving forward with it. So.
Okay, now, I just wanted to I know it's one of the things when they said, we'll compromise, you know what?
Yeah.
We'll take one lot off, but if you're gonna designate it, please sit down and talk to us about it.
Yeah, well, we've met, as I said, and those issues, I don't know whether they were resolved, but at least they were discussed, so
Thank you.
I think they're aware of the situation, so. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Any unfinished business for planning? Is there anything on the, there is. Oh, we've already covered that. The correspondence was included. Any other business? There being none, I will adjourn planning and pass it over to Mayor O'Connor for administration.
Okay, I'll
Oh,
call.
my apologies. Press, any questions? You're good? Public? No?
Call
Okay.
the administration committee to order. Correspondence 147 is Region of Durham Rare Cannabis legislation. I think we just need to receive it for information. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we are now, referring to correspondence, 148, report 0117, report, DB 21702, and, POW 3617. Okay, Councilor
So we're making a
Malloy.
motion to, as I said, we've been working on these since about June, my report, and, we'll look into the other comments that have been made today and get back.
Okay, so can we refer it to staff for,
Absolutely.
okay. So staff will come back, hopefully, and, soon. Well, you know what, we need to come back at council or committee. We lose one, council meeting because of, Thanksgiving. So I'm going to suggest that at the very latest, it come back here on October the 23rd. Okay? Thank you. Going back, all those in favor? Carried. 149, Win Walters, re-update of the Sam Sharp sculpture project. I just have one question on this. Are they still short of money?
Mayor O'Connor, I was at an event, not that long ago, and I think with, one of the members sort of into that, and I kinda got the impression they were done. They were so close and they had other monies coming in, so I think they're finished, but that was the impression I was given
Okay.
at a meeting last week.
Maybe we should find that out for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to find out for sure, but they were only a couple thousand away 2 or 3 weeks ago, as I recall, so I'm sure they're,
Okay, so how much have we've contributed $1,000?
I think we're at the 2, Mayor O'Connor.
2,000?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we find out if they are still short a couple $1,000? Okay?
Nice,
Um,
If they
staff-
just said in the report, sorry, Mayor O'Connor, Donna's just pointing out to me that he says in his letter that the $70,000 matching funding appears to be within reach.
Appears, that's, but I just, you know,
And he wrote that on September the 20th.
okay. All I'm seeing is that if it isn't,
Yeah.
then we need to come and consider it.
That's okay, yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
So what do you wish to do with this?
I guess at this point, we'll just receive it, Mayor O'Connor.
Okay, receive for information?
Would you take a friendly amendment to that?
Yeah.
How about a receipt for information with a letter from council thanking Win for what he's been up to? It's a great project, just so it's not just,
Reach out to them anyways, right?
When we're done, yeah, for sure.
I would like to do a more formal,
okay.
Something nicer.
thank you, when the project's done, if you are all right with that.
Yeah, I'm fine, I just wanted to make sure that
It will be,
we're
for
just
sure.
not ignoring them.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, receive for information, all
All in
those in favor? Carried. Report, CL 4217, committee resignations,
Oh, Arabella quit, eh?
thank you. All those in favor? Carried.
Yeah, I think she is a,
Other business? Press? You're good? Moya? You good? Okay. If you want to continue through? Yes? Okay. So I will now go into, camera to deal with matters relating to litigation, to property, and personal matters. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried.